Hello everyone, my name is Fanta, and welcome to Fantavision. Today I'll be discussing the coworkers, the various coworkers and people I've worked with at GameStop. Now I'll do a separate video for Walmart because Walmart coworkers were a different breed of people. And I think you know what I mean. So, let's jump right in and start discussing what the people were like that I worked with at GameStop. Now, are the people at GameStop a bunch of weird, awkward, socially inept nerds? No. People that work at GameStop were just normal people most of the time, except for a few exceptions. We had some interesting seasonal people, and we also had a couple interesting people who would sub in. But most of the time, the people I worked with were really cool. And also while I was working at GameStop, even though I only worked for GameStop for about 4, maybe 5 years, I think I had like 8 different managers. It was crazy. So they each had their own manager style and their own unique personality, and each one was, I don't know, they always had their positives and negatives. My first manager was pretty cool. At least I thought he was until later on. I'll get to that. So in the beginning, he's really cool, really chill. Wasn't really strict about stuff. Like he'd want you to do something, but he wasn't the type of person to yell. He was really cool, and I thought he was kind of like my buddy. He was kind of buddy with everyone, but he always treated me like a little kid. He always viewed me like a little kid. And to be fair, when I started working there, I was 16, 17, so I was a kid. But I didn't feel the same level of respect that he gave other GameStop employees. So he was a bit, like he treated me like a kid. So along with treating me like a kid, when I did want a promotion and I was working my ass off, I mean, I was learning every single thing about the next level up that I could because I wanted to be one of the managers. And they sent me, because he was no longer a manager at this point when I wanted to get the raise, they sent me to that store, and when I went to that store, I worked the full shift, and it seemed like it went well, and I helped him close up, and then I left. And then I got back to that store, and my manager told me, my current manager at that time, which was like my 5th manager, anyway, there was like a phase where it was like every month there was a new manager. So my current manager was like, I'm really disappointed in you. I'm like, why? And he's like, because you didn't ask any questions. And I'm like, well, I didn't have any questions. What do you mean I didn't ask questions? Like, I understood the job. I've been practicing all the different things I'm supposed to do. But the other manager, I guess, reported that I did a bad job because I didn't ask enough questions and just other weird stuff that didn't make any sense. It kind of gave me the same feeling that I got when I was working at Walmart. And I'll talk about that in a future video. So he was cool until he kind of backstabbed me, which is unfortunate. And I don't know. It seems like a trend with a lot of these managers. Next manager, it's like a blur at one point because there's so many managers. You guys don't know what order I'm going in, so it doesn't really matter. This guy was pretty cool. He had a very energetic personality about him, and I found out why later. And like I said, he seemed pretty normal, just was very energetic. And then when I found out, when I broke up with my girlfriend at the time, and it was a disastrous thing that I'm not going to get into, he was cool enough to understand. So was my assistant manager. They let me go that day. They let me go early. Take care of what I needed to take care of. And then when he found out what happened to me, he confided in me. A lot of people do this. A lot of people will tell me their life story, like stuff that nobody should know, but they just open up to me. And he opened up to me. He's like, yeah, I understand what you're going through. It's really difficult. I've had some difficulty in my life. When my dad died, I locked myself in my room and did cocaine for 5 days. And I'm like, whoa, okay. Didn't know that. Interesting. Not sure why you brought up how you compare a horrible ex to your dad dying, but, thanks for trying to relate with me. So he was cool. And I don't really remember anything negative about him. I just thought that one story was really interesting that he decided to tell me out of nowhere. Like, I never felt like I was like really super good friends with him, but I felt like, it was like work friends, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to hang out with him outside of work, but at work he's cool and I can talk to him. And alrighty then. Another one was super negative because she knew she wasn't going to be staying with the company, so she didn't give a shit about anything. And I mean, that was cool, to have a chill manager, but not giving a shit about anything is also bad because she let a lot of things slip, and like hours were getting weird, and the schedules were messed up, and that was interesting. Another manager I had for a while. Now I know there's some manager I've probably skipped, and there's some stuff about my assistant manager that I've had who became a manager later, but I don't want to divulge his personal details, even though I'm not saying a name. His stuff was way too personal, and I'm surprised he told anyone, including myself. Let's go to another manager I remember, because some of them, like I said, some of them were there for like a week or two. Like, I didn't even get to know them. But another one I did get to know because he was there for probably a year or two before he moved. He was kind of cool. He was weird at the same time. He had an interesting manager style, and the fact that he wasn't that great at it. And by that I mean, like, he was one of those managers that reads books about how to become a better manager, and he would follow some of these ideas to become a better manager and then drop them immediately. Like, the only time he would really hold on to anything is if our district manager chewed him out. And our district manager loved to chew him out. And I don't know if you've ever seen that corporate tree with all the birds shitting on each other. That's what it was like when he was working there. And it was unfortunate because our district manager disliked him so much, and our store was the district manager's home store. And what that means is that the district manager would come in like once a week at least, if not more, and use the back room as his office for his meetings that he has with all the other managers. And sometimes he just randomly come in the morning, and sometimes throughout the day, and sometimes throughout midnight launches. And he came to our store the most. So I got to know our district manager pretty well. He was he was okay. I mean, he was kind of cool. He gave me a couple free games. I guess he liked me enough because he bitched about everyone else to me. Like, he would complain about the other managers at other stores, talk about people who was thinking of letting go. I mean, like, this is really unprofessional stuff that he was doing. I don't know why he decided to talk to me about this. I don't know if he did this with a lot of people, and maybe I was also somebody that he talked to behind my back. I don't know. It was a weird relationship I had with this guy. I wouldn't call him a friend. I don't even know if I'd call him an acquaintance. He was just the district manager that occasionally I got along with. I don't know. It was weird. So that was him, and he was really the only district manager that I got to know. I know we had one before him, but we weren't his home store. His home store was in like Phoenix or something. I don't know what it was, but we never saw that guy. This district manager held our ass to the fire like every other week, and we were a really good store. We did well in numbers, but God, was he a hard ass about stuff. I mean, you had to have perfect numbers and beat almost every other store in order to not be on his shit list. So that was that guy. And then the manager that I was under during that time, when he was a real hard ass, I don't know, he like loved metal, and he'd put on some really cool midnight launches. And I went to his house once with my other coworkers. He was an okay guy, I don't really have too many complaints. The thing that I didn't like was the inconsistency of him. And just, sometimes he'd be super strict and sometimes he'd be super relaxed. And when he was super strict is when he just got chewed out. When he was super relaxed, he hadn't been chewed out in a while. And that was really what determined his manager style. And like I said, he never followed through anything because he came up with like a ticket program, like if you beat your goals or whatever, which the goals got ridiculous, and I need to get into that in another video as well. There's so many things about GameStop I keep starting to remember as I'm discussing them, and I'm like, that needs to go in a future video because that's ridiculous. So if we beat our goals, or we got like number 1 in the store, you get a ticket. And then you get enough tickets, you get like a gift card, something like that. The rewards were never determined at that point. He just said to be announced. And at one point we had a bunch of tickets, and then we wanted to cash him in, but he just dissolved the program. So that was a dick move on his part. I don't know why he did that. I mean, it's not like he was strapped for cash. He could have given us one of his copies of games that he's not going to play. I mean, even my district manager, who didn't really like anybody, gave me a couple games. So make that a prize. So that guy was okay. My last manager that I had when the store was closing, he was okay. He was also pretty chill most of the time. He wasn't the easiest guy to talk to, which was kind of annoying. I wasn't a big fan of closing with him. I preferred closing by myself or with one of my other coworkers that became a good friend, who I haven't talked to in a while, but he was really cool. We played Magic the Gathering and stuff like that. And we hung outside of work and played board games. But you know, life gets in the way. Back to the main story. This guy was pretty cool, but there were some things that really irked me about him. He was one of those managers that really kissed the customer's ass and would not defend employees ever. So there was a customer I've mentioned in the past that came in and his credit card wasn't working. So when the credit card wasn't working, he was getting more and more agitated. And my coworker that was working at the time, I was the manager on duty, was just trying to help. Was like, well, maybe I can try it over here. Would you like this to help wipe it off the strip? Maybe it's just damaged. And this guy, he didn't seem too upset at the time with her, but later on he called in a complaint against her. And my manager brought us both back and said, explain the situation. And we did. And he still was like, well, you need to be more careful next time and not just try to help. And it's like, wait a minute. Don't take the customer's side on this one. The customer's not even standing here. There's no reason to kiss his ass. My coworker did nothing wrong. At all. And yet for some reason he decided to side with this customer for no apparent reason. I don't get it. And this happened several times. Customers would complain about something extremely stupid, or they would do something wrong, like swear at us, and just go on tirades. And because they whined and bitched and moaned, they got their way with this manager. And that is what promotes that horrible culture of people and that horrible consumer culture of, I'm going to treat you like a lesser being because you work retail. Sorry for bumping the mic. That's just not right. You don't do that. It's like if a kid is whining in a store because he wants a toy, you don't give him the toy because he's whining. You just don't. Because if you do, that kid's going to keep whining because he knows that if he does, he's going to get that toy. Same thing goes for customers, even if they're grown-ass adults. I guess I'll go through a couple coworkers just because I don't want to make a separate video just for coworkers. I know I went on a huge tangent and just talked about managers. I hope that was interesting. Just kind of a perspective of an underling. I'll give my perspective as a manager in the future. So many video ideas, thank God, because I told you guys I'd be doing this every Tuesday. And I was like, oh, I'm going to run out of ideas. One guy was interesting. He told me about all the sexual exploits of his life and told me about every single little thing he did with his girlfriend. I didn't even ask. He just listened to rap music that said weird things and I didn't know what they were talking about. Like eating cake. I never wanted to know what that meant, but he happily told me that he participated in it and what it was. Didn't want to know that, bro. Thanks for telling me. Another guy offered me Adderall. No, I'm not going to be taking your amphetamine salts. Thank you very much. Another guy I became friends with, and I hung out with him a couple times out of work. He seemed like a cool guy, and then we found out. I already knew he was addicted to painkillers, but he was stealing from GameStop because he was cashing out pre-orders that people hadn't picked up in like years. So he'd look back at the oldest pre-orders he could, and he would start cashing out those $5 pre-orders and just taking the money out of the register. And he did it often enough that he got caught because there was a customer that came in asking about his pre-orders, and we're like, well, it looks like you canceled it at this date. Looked at the date, looked at the cameras, and lo and behold, it's after close, and that assistant manager was cashing out that person's pre-order at that time and pocketing the money. I was dumbfounded. I never knew that. I knew he was addicted to painkillers, not to the point where he was constantly popping pills, but to the point that it was like at least once a day he would take a pill. Because, I mean, he had a surgery. It's the normal story about people getting hooked on opiates. I'm going to go scream at that cat. 1 second. But yeah, even though he had that addiction after that surgery, I never saw him stealing. That was, I don't know. I guess it got that bad. Another coworker was interesting. He was involved in a threesome relationship with 2 girls. I just hear about the drama every day that I worked with him. Really interesting stories, because I got to hear him go from just in a monogamous relationship, how it became a threesome, and then how my other coworker that I was a friend with became part of the relationship. It was the weirdest thing ever, but it was kind of entertaining to follow. So it was like a drama that I got to listen to it's like a radio drama that I got to listen to every week or day that I worked with these people. And it was oh man, I'm just remembering it. Some of the things just I can't go into specifics. I want to, but just talking about every experience they had with like trying to seduce one of his girlfriends and how that guy was okay with him doing that, and just the weird emotions and drama that entails, and that's so weird. People are weird. I had another coworker that was just useless, and everybody knew it. Nobody liked him. There was another guy that wasn't really that useless, but have you ever seen Parks and Rec? Jerry? He was like the Jerry of GameStop. I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't think he was that bad of a person. He was a nice enough person, but he was a really bad klutz, and the way he talked, he was an open target, and he wasn't that good at his job. He wasn't the worst, but he wasn't amazing. He wasn't as driven as everyone else. I don't know. We had the Jerry of GameStop, and it was pretty great. We had a couple other guys that just didn't show up occasionally. We had lots of seasonal guys that we just weeded through really quickly due to them not showering or something. Like, I don't understand this. There's a reason I haven't gone to Friday Night Magic in a long time, and that's because whenever I go, even to a pre-release, it's like people don't know what showering is. I don't know about you guys, but I want to shower like at least once or twice a day. How did we get on this topic of showering? How many minutes in are we? This is a really long episode. I'm going to go ahead and just end it now. There's other coworkers I've missed. There's other managers I've worked under that I've probably missed as well. Maybe I'll think of them in the future, but for now, we got to end it. Thanks for watching. Sorry for meandering so much. I know that most of these episodes aren't really tightly focused, but today was just all over the place. So thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a like down below. Comment down below if you have worked at GameStop or if you've had experiences with a weird employee of GameStop and how they were weird. Let me know. And of course, subscribe for more content like this. Gaming news, Tales from Retail every Tuesday. And that's all I can think of. Twitch. I stream on Twitch now. I know I've had the link down there in the description for a while, but Twitch, Twitter, all that stuff, very active on Twitter, and I try to stream at least once a week. And I like playing with viewers, so if you guys have the games that I'm playing, you can play with me. I have 800 games on Steam, so I'm pretty sure you have something in common with me. And as always, everyone, you must remember, you must abide by this statement. And that statement is that you should have a Fanta-tastic day. See ya.